Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spohr each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hey everyone, it is my absolute pleasure and joy to welcome as a guest to the show today, Carla Howard. She is a strategic change consultant, professional speaker, and a dream enabler, which I definitely want to hear more about that. The thread that runs through her work is a love of personal and business transformation, whether helping corporations manage change, delivering keynotes, teaching emerging speakers how to get paid from the stage, or helping kind and ambitious women realize what is possible. She helps people move from where they are today to where they want to be in the future. I can already tell that this conversation is going to be an adventure. Welcome, Carla.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here, Jennifer. This is going to be fun.
Yes, it's going to be so much fun. I think I'd love to hear first more about in your bio you had mentioned being a dream enabler. What does that entail?
It took me a while to come up with that little short title, and it just really, really connected with me. Every time I hear someone read it, it makes me smile. And that's how you know that, yeah, that is the right description. So I have seen through coaching and mentoring so many women and delivering keynotes and workshops that very few people are actually living their dream lives. And that just breaks my heart, because we get so stuck and afraid, and we think we need to do more, be more, have more before we take those steps toward really living our dream lives. And so my work with women in particular really focuses on helping them to break through that, and then just reaching out and striving and doing those scary things that are going to move them closer to their dream lives. And that's where the dream enabler title came from. So, whether that's through keynotes or workshops, that work is just really near and dear to my heart.
I love that so much. What is the number one thing that you would say holds people back from pursuing their dreams?
Yeah, thinking they're not ready. And that comes in a variety of different ways. It might mean someone thinks, oh, I need to get a degree before I can apply for that job, or I need to have more experience before I ask for a raise. It might be that they dream of starting a business and they don't think they know enough yet to get started, and so they hold back. So it's always that feeling of not enough, not knowing enough, not having enough. And then there's that hesitation. And I think in that little space of hesitation is where we get stuck. So I would say that's the number one thing that I see, is that hesitation to take action, because we just think there's something we have to know, do, or learn before we can move forward with making steps towards that dream life.
Yeah, perfectionism is something that so many of us have a dance with. I'll just call it, versus struggle. Like, it does feel like a struggle, but it's so important in what you're sharing, because even, this isn't just for beginners either.
No,
Right?
no.
Like, this is something, in fact, I was just having kind of a similar conversation with myself about this the other day, even catching myself recently on, oh, I'm holding back because on sharing this thing, because I'm thinking, oh, I'm a spiritual mentor and I'm a channel and a teacher and this and that. And, I should be perfect in what I'm sharing. And I even had to catch myself recently, and I've been on the path, right, for for many years at this point. I just feel like what you're saying applies to so many people, which brings me to my next question. So in your experience, what is the most direct path to overcoming that?
Small steps. And I
Mhm.
think that's the beautiful thing, is we think it's going to be this great big leap, or we're going to magically learn or know what we need to know. It's, you really learn all this stuff on the path. And I think that's the thing that we forget or don't realize, is we have to take the step, learn the lesson, make the mistake, and
Mhm.
just keep stepping. I really don't think, whether we're thinking about launching a business, getting our ideal career, finding, our love partner, that it ever is really a big leap. I think it's these small steps along the way. And this year I'm really focused on experimenting. And so what I mean by that is, I'm going to make more mistakes faster. I'm going to make bigger mistakes, and I'm just going to have some fun with it and look at it all as an experiment. Because when we attain the knowledge, when we know the things that are going to guide us towards that dream life, it's always through experience. So if we're holding back and not having those experiences, there's just no path to get there.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, we're basically all in this earth school. We're like here to learn, and so we have to be willing to have those experiences to embark on an unknown path. I think also, in order to truly understand the value of our desires and what we're looking to achieve as well. Yeah, I love that. What would you say has for you has been, in reflecting on where you were at the point on your path where you decided you wanted to pursue this business and do what you're doing now, what was the greatest challenge for you
Oh
in terms
gosh.
of embracing
Do I
that?
have to pick one?
You can just start with
I,
the biggest one, I guess.
I think there's a couple things that come to mind. So the thing that really launched me into my entrepreneurial path is I got laid off from my corporate gig. So I had a side hustle, and it was all around, keynote speaking and speaking on topics to help women advance in their careers and live their dream lives. And so I'd already, started with that. And when I got laid off, I really struggled. I would say this is my big struggle with identity, because I'd always been in a corporate space. But even bigger than that is the fear of what my colleagues thought of me. It was just that fear that they were going to look at me and think that I was a failure, or that, oh, of course she got laid off. She didn't contribute as much as she thought she did. She's the only one that's surprised she got laid off. So I made up all these stories in my head around what other people were going to think of the fact that I got let go from my corporate job. And that impacted me in profound ways, because I wasn't showing up on LinkedIn. I was really afraid of what other people would think about, my new path. I was hesitant to reach out to my past colleagues, which is ridiculous. I had amazing relationships with these people. And ultimately, they're the ones that have helped me grow my career, because they believe in me and they know the value that I deliver. So I would say the biggest challenge was really getting over that voice in my head telling me that my colleagues or my previous work associates were going to think badly of me because I got laid off. And then, as you can imagine, the way you show up on social media, the way that you market your business, the way that you talk to people about the work that you do, it changes, because you have that little catch in your heart that says, I'm not good enough, right?
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. To go a bit deeper on that, because any of those fears or kind of limiting beliefs that we experience usually have a deeper root cause. What did you find in overcoming that was kind of the deeper cause behind that pattern of caring about others' opinions?
I don't really have a good answer for that. I think, my parents raised me to believe I could really do anything. I entered the workforce in the 80s, and I laugh when I look back at it now because, of course, with all the data and research and all of that, we know in the 1980s, most women were teachers or nurses. There really weren't many, if any, executive women in a leadership role. And I went into the workforce really blind to that because I just thought I could do anything I wanted to do. I really didn't have that voice of my parents, telling me, oh, you can only do this or you can only do that. And about 10 years in, I started paying attention and looking around and going, oh my gosh, there's actually nobody like me in the upper executive ranks. And I went through, I built my career. I actually love being in corporate. I always had this desire, though, to leave corporate and go out into an entrepreneurial space, do some of the same type of work I was doing in corporate, but then also do this other work of my heart at the same time. And my fear of not having a steady income kept me from making that leap. So getting laid off was cool because, well, now I don't have a steady income, so I have some choices to make. I really couldn't tell you why I had that concern around what other people were thinking, other than the fact that I worked really, really hard to grow my brand within corporate America. And I was really proud of what I had built. And then there was this sudden loss of identity, like the rug gets pulled out from under you when that's gone. And it's gone in a snap.
Yeah, so fascinating what you're sharing about how you grew up in a way that your parents encouraged you, which then leads me to, because the society that so many of us have been brought up in does promote conformity.
Yeah.
Right?
My mom and dad were interesting. So my
Mhm.
mom was very entrepreneurial. When we were kids, she wrote a little book that's so cute. I've got a copy of it, and she had all these ideas on how to start a business. She thought about, starting a caramel popcorn like place inside of the mall when I was in high school. And so, I was constantly surrounded by like this creative entrepreneurial spirit, right? And then my dad was in the military. And so then, the flip side of that is that kind of really strict conforming kind of a mindset. He also was very, very supportive of anything we wanted to do. But he definitely brought that, I'll say, kind of traditional, follow the rules sort of mindset, right? So I did have both of those growing up. And it was unusual because most girls that I went to school with did not have that kind of atmosphere that they grew up in, whereas my parents, they were just very adventurous.
Mhm. Which I think is so cool, the dynamic that you had with both of your parents growing up. And so maybe the concern around the opinions of others came from maybe the thought that you were stepping outside of the rules.
I don't know. Yeah, that's an
Doing your own thing.
interesting. I think I just had my identity so wrapped up in what I was doing that now, as an entrepreneur, here comes a brand new identity, and it's a way that nobody knew me. And so it just felt really strange getting out there and talking about it. I'll give you a perfect example. So if you go to my LinkedIn or my Instagram page, I do videos of me just out walking and talking about being an entrepreneur, being a speaker, just different things to help us get out of our own way so that we can live our dream lives. And I'm outside walking. It's very casual. Sometimes I have my makeup on, sometimes I don't have my makeup on. And I laugh every time I put one on LinkedIn because there's no way when I was in corporate, I would have walked in the door with my hair in a ponytail with no makeup on. That just is not something on this planet that would have happened. Yet, now that I'm in the entrepreneurial space, I'll go out there with a ponytail, go on my walk, and just talk to people that are following me in a real open, this is me kind of a way. And it took me a long, long time to get to the point where I was comfortable with that. And truthfully, I still cringe when I go hit like post on LinkedIn, because it's such a different identity. And I think that is really what I struggled with, is they know me this way. They don't know me the other way as an entrepreneur, as a keynote speaker, as having, these workshops that I deliver and they get paid from the stage program. Like, my corporate colleagues don't know me that way. So what are they going to think when they all of a sudden see this completely different brand of Carla?
Yeah. Visibility is something that so many, struggle with. And even once you become an entrepreneur, I don't know if you resonate with this, but I've definitely experienced this on my own journey as well, is it's like there are new levels of visibility, like new levels of being seen as you continue to evolve. How do you move through those with more grace?
I think just doing the hard things is, it gets easier. It most of my life, if I would run into something that scares me, then that's just my indication that I just need to go in that direction, which I've done that time and time again. So, if I start to think about something I want to share or have on my heart to share, or something in my business that I want to create, that I get that little catch in my heart that's like, I don't know what people are going to think about that. I right away go, oh no, you're definitely going to do this now, because there's something there. I read a quote one time and it just really resonated with me. And I come back to this time and time again. If you're not turning anybody off, you're not turning anybody on. And so I know when I come up with an idea or I go to share content and I think, oh, people are going to be upset about that. It's like, yeah. And some people are going to love it. And those are the people I want to attract anyway. So let's go do this. So I constantly remind myself that if I'm really concerned that someone in my audience or someone in the community or someone on LinkedIn is going to disagree with or not like something that I'm sharing, I can fall back in the knowledge that somebody else is then going to love it.
I really love how you frame that, and I love that quote. And it's so true that just any fear is really an opportunity for growth. And it's, in looking at the big picture, it really is so much easier to allow ourselves to lean into that fear in the beginning, versus continuing to try to suppress it and allow it to hold us back. The universe has a tendency to continue bringing opportunities for mastery to us, right? Lessons for growth, until we acknowledge them and choose to move through them. I know you had mentioned that your initial transition involved getting laid off from corporate. Do you think if you wouldn't have been laid off, that you would have chosen to go out on your own?
No, no, because and this I did get from my parents. So I am very connected to, or I crave financial stability. So like, I remember growing up and my mom and dad had a budget, and they would sit at the table every week. They gave themselves what they called their allowance, that they could spend on what they wanted to. It was a little bit of money because we didn't have a whole lot, but they had a budget spreadsheet, and I would see them go through it and I would hear them. And they weren't the kind of parents, again, they were very different, that like hid the finances from the kids, right? Like they let us hear them talk about money, and they showed us that even when you're an adult, you have to have a budget, and we get an allowance just like you get an allowance. And I loved how comfy that spreadsheet felt, because it felt safe, right? Like I would see, oh, this is how this works. And I have, ever since I've been an adult, I have a spreadsheet. And when you work for corporate, you know how much money's coming in on that spreadsheet every month, because it's right here. Here's how much is coming in. You can estimate your bonus and everything. just kind of flows and looks fabulous. When you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't quite work like that, right? Because some months are bigger than other months. Unless you have the luxury of a steady client with some kind of a commitment, you might know a month or two out, but that's probably about it. And so my longing to have financial security and stability and to be able to fill that darn spreadsheet out every month would have definitely kept me from taking the leap.
Well, how did you overcome that as an entrepreneur? Because a lot of people struggle with moving from that like an employee mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset when it comes to that.
Yeah, I have to credit my husband on this one. So I was really in the beginning trying to figure out, do I want to be an entrepreneur or do I want to go back to work full time for a company, right? So I was applying for corporate gigs like crazy. Plus I was applying for consulting and speaking gigs and, creating some products and services. So I was doing them both at the same time, which I don't recommend. But I was like terrified. I didn't know which way to go. And I had a couple of interviews. And at the end of the interviews, I would say, yeah, I don't think I'm the right person for this job. And I had one interview in particular, it was for Amazon. And the lady was asking me questions. And I finally just said, listen, I could answer this the way you want me to, and you would move me on to the next level. And I just don't want the job. And she had a script in front of her. It just cracked me up because then she goes, well, then can you tell me about a time when, and she asked me another question. I said, I could, but I'm not going to because I don't want this job. And she goes, okay, I just have one more question for you. Do you think you're the right person for this job? And I said, no, this is what I'm
listening.
No, I don't want the job. So I went into my husband and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like I am telling people for these engagements that I don't want the job and I need a job. And he said, it's time for you to focus on doing what you tell everybody else to do and go do the thing that's going to make you happy, which is your own business. And I said, yeah, but isn't that scary? Because I could get like, I mean, I don't know where the money's going to come from. I could get laid off. And he looked at me and said, I'm not saying this to hurt your feelings, but didn't you just get laid off? And I said, well, yeah. And he goes, so apparently that's not guaranteed either. So just go do it. And I went,
nothing is, yeah.
Oh, you know what? You're right.
Yeah. I love this because so my next question for you is then, because nothing is guaranteed, and that's
Right.
so true. So how does your faith come into play?
Yeah, I just really I've learned, I would say over the course of being an entrepreneur, this has really deepened for me. I believe with all of my heart that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and I just lean into it. And my husband laughs at me because I'll say like, I'll give you a perfect example. So we are up in our cabin and we have problems with the electricity going out. So we went and bought a generator yesterday, and the generator and all of the things that come with it. We got a battery backup for our pellet stove was like $4,000. And my husband's like, I just hate that we just had to spend $4,000. I said, don't worry about it because it's coming in. And he goes, where's it coming from? I said, I have no idea. Isn't that the fun part? Like, that's not my job to worry about it. My job is to do the work and it's all going to be provided for. So I just don't worry about that stuff. And he knows me well enough by now to know that that is actually exactly what happens. So I guarantee you within the next probably 3 or 4 weeks, I'll get a $5,000 gig that comes in because that's how this is working for me. I'm doing the right things. I'm doing the work that I'm supposed to do. And the things that bring me comfort and security are going to be there. And so I just lean into it. I'm a big believer in having, it's so interesting, a word of the year. And I typically know my word of the year weeks in advance. And this year I didn't. And I was kind of like, this is so weird because I I know that I want one, but I don't just want to like go, oh, I'll pick, whatever. So I went to bed New Year's Eve night and I was thinking, it's so weird that I don't have my word of the year yet. And I dreamt about the word believe, and I kept seeing it, and I could hear myself saying, my word of the year is believe. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to believe and trust all year. And, I woke up and I was like, okay, that was crazy because that has never happened. But that is really, I would say, part of that faith journey is, even when I was thinking I was on my way in here, because I passed the generator on my way in, and I was like, feels so good to just trust and believe everything's taken care of. I have nothing to worry about. So that, I would say, is a little sneak peek into how just my connection with spirit and just all that's the goodness and manifesting abundance, all of those things ties into being an entrepreneur. I believe with my heart that because I'm doing the right work, it's all going to work out. I just need to do the steps, take the, the physical footwork that are going to help bring that about.
Mm-hmm. Would faith and what you're describing, would that be the number one thing that you would tell people that would be key to moving forward and following their path, whether it's becoming an entrepreneur or just pursuing another career, really with the center of all of that, honoring what brings them happiness, right? And sharing their gifts.
Yeah, I think it's going to be different for every person, right? So I think the number one thing that people need to do is work on their mindset. And that can be around whatever it needs to be. One of the things that I share with audiences, both as a keynote speaker and as a workshop facilitator, is how to quiet your inner critic, so that you can move forward and live your dream life. So for some people, that might be their biggest struggle. For other people, it may be, just really understanding that the things that they want and need are coming to them, and their job is not to figure out how, but to just really focus on the bigger picture. I think it's going to depend on the individual. I do think mindset, though, is the most important thing someone can work on, no matter what it is they're trying to achieve in their lives.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And how do you feel about being tapped into your intuition? Because something I believe in very strongly is, when it comes to mindset, the key to shifting that is really discerning, what's your intuitive voice versus more of the fear-based thoughts that you might experience, like learning how to identify how that voice comes through for you. And then what you said earlier about trust is really key. Not just trusting in God, right? But trusting in life, trusting in the universal intelligence of life, trusting in ourselves, trusting other people.
Yeah, I do. I'm a big believer in following your intuition, and I am a spiritual person, so I do have a strong belief in God. I also, which is interesting because it's taken me a while to kind of reconcile that. I also have a strong belief in that manifesting abundance and the right mindset, and they all just kind of link together, right? Like it's just because you believe in the manifesting power doesn't mean you don't have a belief in God, right? Those are not one or the other. So I do believe in both of those things. And I am a huge believer in following your intuition, both from a spiritual aspect and from a data aspect, because another part of my background is I'm a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt, which is a mouthful, but all it means is that I have a very high level of understanding of gathering data and statistics and doing analysis that leads you to your next path or the way that you're supposed to go. Well, the human brain does this all of the time. We're bringing in data every single breath that we take, whether we're asleep, whether we're awake, whether we're reading, walking down the street. That's why sometimes when you start to go down, let's say, a side street and the hair stands up on the back of your neck and you go, ooh, you know what, that doesn't feel good. I'm not going to go down there. You don't know why, but your intuition has picked up something. It might be a shady character walking at the end of the alley.
Mhm.
It might be something else, right? But our bodies, our minds, our entire beings are amazing little computers that are constantly pulling in data points, and it manifests as your intuition. So when we push that aside, that is always to our detriment. It might be physically, it might be spiritually, it could be financially. You know, if you have that little niggling of something, a product that you need to create, and it's been there for a while, listen to that, because there, you don't know what data points have been gathered to lead that to that intuitive thought, right? That's going to get you down a different path. So yes, I am a huge believer in harnessing your intuition. And it's not because I think it's a hunch, it's because I know that that is our master data collection that has brought in little pieces of information from a variety of different places to like give us that little push in the right direction or pull us back from something.
Yeah, it's also our soul's guidance. It's like one of the ways that God speaks to us, right?
Yeah.
Because we're also these eternal beings, you know, we have a soul. We're here having a human experience, right? And so there is just so much in terms of data and wisdom and things that are just untapped. I mean, still we are only tapped into a very small percentage of what our true potential is.
Absolutely.
So important. Oh my gosh, I could talk to you for days. I'm loving this conversation. Um, in closing, what else are you feeling guided to bring forward? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, I don't know anything specific other than just this whole idea of, you know, living your dream life. It's going to look different for every single person.
Mhm.
And whatever is on your heart to do, to experience, you know, people that you want to serve in your lifetime, just really get clear on what that is. And I think just maybe one final thought is, if you're currently not doing a meditation program or a visualization where you just have that quiet time, I love to do it in the morning. That's my special time. That can really help bring clarity. If you're like, I just don't know what I want my dream life to look like, then just ask yourself that question, get quiet, sit quietly, listen to music, or, you know,
Mhm.
relax in your favorite chair and imagine, well, what could that maybe look like? And you'll be amazed at the pictures and the images that will come to you. And then just continue to hold that close. I have a meditation book where when after I meditate, I write down what I saw, because I'll forget, you know, and then, you know, I'll go back and look every once in a while. And it's amazing what you can learn from yourself when you allow your mind to quiet down and just, you know, engage in that quiet reflection.
Yes. And God doesn't put anything in our heart or in our imagination that isn't meant to be achieved.
Yep, exactly.
Yes. And it's fun.
It is fun. It
It's
is
fun
fun.
to vision. Yeah, it's so much fun. Oh my gosh, Carla, thank you so much for sharing that wisdom and just all of the wisdom and experience that you've shared today. If someone's interested in working with you and connecting with you, where is the best place for them to go?
I shared with you at my link tree.
Mhm.
So in there, there's several different links. I do so many different things under the umbrella of helping people go from where they are today to where they want to be tomorrow. I think two places they can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's a great place. So just connect with me there, send me a message. I'll write you back and see how I can help you. I'm also on Instagram under Rise Sisters. And there I share some things as well. So I would say those are the best two places to just check out the different programs and different free offerings that I have to help people live their best lives.
Awesome. And your link tree, the information that you sent me, we will be sure to include that in the show notes for folks to have easy access as well.
Oh, thank you.
Carla, thank you so much for being a guest. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I know that the listeners will too.
I enjoyed it as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspore.com.